So hello and welcome back. Today we're going to get a closer look at this. So last time we took a look at probably the cheapest K969 in the world and unboxed that. And within that video I showed that I had a K989, or a couple of K989 and K989 variants. This one's been very heavily used by my nephews and nieces out on the street. Got a bit of a loose swing there. That's how well it's been used. But I also showed that I had this. And a few people have said, can we have a closer look at that? So here it is. Here's a closer look at that. So on the outside, it's got a Mini Z Audi R8 body shell, which you do have to do a little bit of modification, both on the shell and on the car to get it to fit. So it's a bit of a tricky one to get off. So that's the body shell. And there's the car. So electronics wise, it's got a TG Racing Mini 28 brushed motor, ESC. Now the more observant of you will notice that red goes to black and black goes to red. That's because I wired, when I soldered this piece on, because this is the connector out of the standard K989 combined receiver and ESC. So I took that out, I unsoldered it from the board and then connected it up into the TG ESC, but I wired it the wrong way around. So the quickest way for me to do that was just to pull the pins out the plug and put them in the wrong way around. So that's why they're incorrect there. Also, we've shortened the battery lead on that just to make it a bit tidier. And then the motor plugs in. It's a standard motor, standard WLToys motor, plugs straight in to that. The receiver, that was an off-cast of one of my custom, or not custom, but one of my bespoke drift chassis. Basically what I had, this is a GT55 combined receiver gyro. And I had one and it broke. It's a standard receiver. And it broke, and they sent me a combined receiver gyro. So when I upgraded my drift cars, I fitted this into the K9. I don't really use the gyro on it, to be honest, because you don't really need the gyro. It's quite low when I run it. I don't run it that often, to be honest. I get the battery. That's a standard WLToys battery that comes with these cars, just so we can see a bit easier inside. It gets a little bit of, doesn't get a lot of love these days, since we've got like drift arts and other bits and bobs. But this is how it started. I bought this in 2019, Christmas of 2019. And then I probably spent $150, $200 customizing it. So it's got the carbon fiber chassis plate, a lower deck and top deck. It's got all the metal bits on it that actually fitted the car, but they don't fit very well because there's a lot of slop in them. Even though they're shimmed, there's a lot of slop in them. And people ask when they buy this, should I get the metal upgrades? The answer to that is no. Leave it plastic stock, because this costs money for one, and it takes a load of time to get it right. The tolerances on it are absolutely rubbish. So you can see I've got a combination now of plastic bits and upgrade metal parts. Yeah, I would say don't upgrade it, because this probably came in without the electronics, because I did upgrade that later because the ESC broke. So the TG ESC is like $15. So I just got that with another order that I was getting from GT55. And obviously the receiver gyro for me was free in essence, because it was an upgrade part. I did upgrade the servo as well. It's an AGFRC, cheapish $10 servo in there as well. The only thing I do need to do is get a proper servo horn for it, because it's not great, that one. So it needs a proper servo horn. And I also need to redo the steering link, because that's not great either, really. Over the course, just before COVID, I think it was, I upgraded to like the various bits and bobs, and you end up getting tools, and you have to get, it's just an ongoing thing, because this has got a solid Mini Z rear diff in it, and it's a plastic geared diff. So it's a metal with a plastic gear. The Mini Z ones are like that. And then this has got a front one way as well in it. So you can see one wheel, wheels will turn independently. So when it's being driven, all four wheels get driven. And then it can rotate, like when you're off the power, they can turn independently of each other. And that's, again, that's a Mini Z front one way with a plastic gear. I did put the metal geared diffs front and rear, and they lasted probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 runs, and it actually stripped not the diff, but the gear, like the plastic gear within the diff that go like on the end of the drive shaft. It was crazy, really. And they weren't tight. I'd made sure they were all nice and loose and free, and everything else. So that's about it, really. It cost a lot. It did cost a lot of money, and I would say, you know, if you're going to go that route, and I know the WLToys groups were going to probably hate me, but I would, for them, like basically, it cost me another $40 or $50 from what I spent on this to buy a drift art when I first bought my drift art 2, and it's like, why the difference is light and day between what you have to do to this to get it to even run nicely, and arguably you make them worse with the modifications than when they're just bog stock. So yeah, in my opinion, I wouldn't bother. You know, if you're gonna, like, just take the stock one, get the stock K969, drive it, have fun with it. I said this in the last video, drive it, have fun with it, and then when you've sort of got the hang of it, instead of spending money, and if you've got 3D printer, fine, just go away and like you can print the front end so that you can make it 2-wheel drive and everything else. But I would really look at going and getting like a bespoke mini drift car, because then you put the electronics in it. If you upgrade the electronics, this is quite a cheap way of doing it. But I've seen people put in like $50–$60 ESC gyros in them, like brush motors. When you start doing that, you might as well go and get a custom drift chassis. I've had them have a little bit of a rant there, and I probably upset everybody that's in the K989 and 69 groups. So we'll have a little look at this running and come back for a closing. So there we are. It's okay, you know. It is okay. With this, you are power sliding it, and you can see that it's got a lot of understeer generically in the car because it's 4-wheel drive. So then you're kicking the back out, and the front one way does help with that. The gyro does help it understeer, which isn't a good thing, obviously, for drifting. So you turn that down a little. So it's a bit of an adjustment. I haven't driven this for a long time, actually, so it's the first time I've driven it for probably 6 months or so. So it takes a little bit of getting used to again. But that's it, really. If you want to go down that route, that's a modified K989. There is a guy, if you haven't heard of him, Beaver, PEACHY, Beaver Hobby Channel on YouTube. He's done loads of videos on the K989, K969, and upgrading them. So if you want to look further, if you do want to buy a K989 or 69 and upgrade it, do take a look at Beaver's videos. I will put a link in the description below so you can do that. And I do apologise if I have upset any of the community with my little rant earlier. So stay tuned, we've got loads of things coming up. We do need to finish the D24 We've got a couple of other videos coming up. I'm traveling a lot with work, so the uploads might get a bit less over the next few weeks. Stay tuned and come back and see us again soon. Thanks for watching.